Hi, everyone. On behalf of Councilmember Cornegie and we are proud to be joined by Mrs. Eileen Davidson, their children, Brooke, Joseph, Emily, and Amy, who are sitting amazingly still right now, Michael's parents, Bobby and Paula, and his brother, firefighter Eric Davidson, as well as the UFA President Andy Ansbro and VP Bobby Eustace. I just want to start out by pointing out that at every stated meeting of the City Council, which we'll have today, the City Council takes time to read the names and hold a moment of silence for all New York City employees and military personnel who pass away while serving in the city and community they love. And most have been, in this session of the council at least, the victims of 9/11 related cancers and more recently, those who died from COVID-19. And that was the same at the April 11th, 2018 meeting of the City Council when the speaker read the name of firefighter Michael Davidson. And the tragedy was, very fresh in our minds. The funeral was just 2 weeks earlier. And we stood and did our moment of silence like we normally did. Firefighter Davidson rolled up to a fire that was raging in an old jazz club on Thursday, March 22nd, 2018. He showed up with the rest of the crew that was working that night at Engine 69. And the building was being used as the set of a film. And this death is very different than the awful deaths that we sometimes mourn in the City Council that I mentioned. We can't cure 9/11 cancer. We can't develop vaccines. We can't prevent all accidents or heart attacks or things like that. But when it came to the circumstances that led to Michael Davidson's death, we actually could do something about it. And we can change how we allow film sets to operate in this city. And that's what Councilman Cornegie and I are doing today. The idea and push, of course, it came from one person, and we'll hear from her soon, Mrs. Eileen Davidson. And she enlisted the help of the Uniform Firefighters Association, who decided that this would be both the first and last time a firefighter would die on the set of a film in New York City. And I want to be clear about something. If a slumlord was putting up fake partitions and lighting things on fire and somebody died, there would be an arrest. In this city, we would prosecute that person. The film industry operated under different parameters, and that is not going to be the same going forward. We're not trying to discourage filming, but we want to make sure this is done safely and properly. And Mrs. Davidson sat in on these meetings, and I just want to say, she was stoic. And she sat there as we spitballed and rehashed, the circumstances of that led essentially to the death of her husband. And that to me is a real sign of her strength. And I know she did it for her children. And I know she did it for Michael's parents. And I know she did it for the other members of the FDNY. I want to thank a number of people for their efforts on this. First and foremost, obviously, is Eileen. As well as Michael's brother, Eric, who I got to meet and become friends with over the past couple of years. His parents, of course, Mr. and Mrs. Davidson, we'll hear from as well. And I have to thank Robert Cornegie, who was the co-sponsor and sponsor with me on these bills. And I'll be polite because he's running in a Democratic primary for borough president, so I don't want to hurt his chances by saying how hard he and I worked together on this. I want to thank the speaker who let us make this issue for my committee the priority, both before COVID and then after a pause while we dealt with that. Now again, as we're on the backside of it, of course there is the union, the UFA, instrumental in all this, and they were the ones to not only rally the troops, which you expect from a union, and to keep this on their agenda and keep putting the pressure on. But most importantly, they sat in and helped craft the language with the fire department. And of course, I want to thank the members of the fire department on their managerial side who also worked on this as well. But really thanks to President Andy Ansbro and VP Bobby Eustace. And I also want to thank my own staff, Frank Masha, Josh Kingsley, Jeff Baker, Rachel Cordero, and William Hongach. Just to be clear, this package of bills does two things. The first is that it sets up a system of notification, both from the film permit holder to the FDNY and from the FDNY actually to the responding companies. Now, unlike in the past, when a responding company rolls up to a fire, they will know if that building or that structure is being used as a film set, and if there are temporary alterations and partitions possibly obstructing their work. And the second is that we will require fire safety officers on site while pyrotechnics or combustible materials and effects are in use. And this seems like a no-brainer. If we're using equipment to make simulated explosions and effects, there should be a person on hand to take responsibility for both the safety of the crew, adherence to fire regulations, and to the maintenance of egress, perhaps most importantly. So again, I want to thank Eileen and Mr. and Mrs. Davidson for being, the ones to spearhead this, and the ones who have to bear the emotional toll of rehashing this every time we take action on this. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague and co-sponsor on the bill, Robert Cornegy, and then we'll hear from everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Borelli. I just want to start by saying the same thing I said this morning, which is thank you for showing an example of how sometimes we can work across the aisles, especially in this ridiculous climate of so much discord, to get to a place where we can support, in particular, our men and women who are our first responders. So I want to thank you for working collaboratively with me and everybody who's involved in this bill, these two bills, to make sure that we can make it a safer environment for our first responders. As was mentioned, my name is Councilmember Robert Cornegy, and as an elected official, my first duty is to make sure New Yorkers do not lose their respective lives in the commission of their appointed duties, especially our first responders. Lieutenant Michael Davidson should not have died. His wife, Eileen Davidson, should not be here mourning his life today. I wish she were not here today in this capacity, but she is, and her grief compels me to act. Today, I stand in solidarity with first responders who put their lives at risk. I stand in solidarity with their families who also suffer when our first responders get hurt or die. As a council member, my role is not to rush into a burning building. My job is to make sure all New Yorkers are safe. We all benefit when firefighters can do their jobs safely. The least we can do is to provide adequate information when the firefighters arrive at a building that has been altered during a filming. We're here to urge immediate and unanimous passage of two bills, Intros 1849A and 1852A. At heart, they're very simple. Film production companies should communicate better with the fire department, and on-site locations for film production should be cleared of life-threatening violations. We live in an era of constant communication, over-communication. If you want to tell all of your friends on Instagram about dinner, we now have the capacity to do so. With our new powers of communication, I see no reason why we can't improve communication between film production companies and the fire department. I'm grateful for the tireless advocacy of Eileen Davidson and the entire Davidson family, which includes Eileen and Brooke and Joseph, Emily, and Amy. I just want to say, like Chair Borelli, I have 6 children of my own, the youngest of which are 14-year-old twins, and I can barely get them to sit still as 14-year-old twins. So you're doing a yeoman's job in keeping them attentive during this hearing. I also want to thank the advocacy of Bobby Davidson, his dad, Paula Davidson, his mother, and of course, his brother, Eric Davidson. The work of the Uniform Firefighters Association, especially Andy and Bobby, Fire and Emergency Management Committee Chair Borelli, and all colleagues who co-sponsored legislation, and all the City Council staff who worked on the legislation, including Jeff Baker, Josh Kingsley, Ishmael Sharif. I urge the quick passage of both these bills. Lieutenant Michael Davidson's family and the families of all of our firefighters deserve no less. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this.
Thank you. I'm going to turn to the UFA president and vice president to introduce Ms. Davidson, but just a word on how hard they worked on this. I mean, this was oftentimes union members, base their opinions on their leadership on silly things like who shows up at a picnic or a barbecue or something like that, and they don't get to see the sort of behind the scenes grittiness of actually making their job conditions safer for the members. And I just want to cite both Andy and Bobby, the president and vice president of the UFA, as being great leaders, and you know, their members should know that, and their members should know that they really put a priority on their own safety. So I'll turn it over to you guys.
Thank you, Joe, and thanks for seeing this through, and thank you, Robert Cornegie, as well. And Eileen, Brooke, Joseph, Emily, Amy, Bobby, Paul, and Eric, you know we always stand with you, and we really thank you for being here today. And again, we wish you didn't have to be here. As far as giving credit, I have to say Bobby carried the lion's share of this work, and it's really appropriate to give him credit for that. So thank you, all of you. And Bobby, please.
Same thing. Thank you, Chairman Borelli. Thank you, Councilman Cornegie. Thank you, Eileen, as well. Brooke, Joseph, Emily, Amy, Mr. Davidson, Mrs. Davidson, Eric. Just did it for you, did it for Michael. I had the fortunate experience of working with Michael. We're in the same division, in the 6th division, and this is something that needed to be done. I had the fortunate experience of being in a line of duty firehouse in 27 truck with the Black Sunday fire, where there were false walls, as you mentioned, Joe, and people died, and it was tragedy. And this is something we try to protect, and this is something that we don't ever want to see. So, you know, the fight continues. Just I'm wearing a suit. That's all. So I'll kick it off and let Eileen take over from here. So Eileen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, everybody, for being here with us. I'm not above bribery. That's how I got them to sit here so nicely. There's a nice reward of Skittles awaiting them. With that being said, I'm going to have them say a quick thank you. Go ahead. What do we say to everybody?
Thank you.
Thank you for honoring our daddy. And I'm going to let them take their leave if that's okay. Go ahead. Go get your skills.
I have no skills.
So a big thank you, obviously, to, I'll start with Joe Borelli. Almost feels like a lifetime ago, we were sitting in your office together. You invited us in and worked with us, made us a part of the process. And from the very beginning, Eric and I did express how important that was to us to truly be a part of the process. We met with your team, we met with Councilman Cornegie's team. We are just so incredibly thankful to you both, Councilman Cornegie as well, for your sponsoring, your efforts, and most importantly, your support. The weight of what we feel on a daily basis is indescribable. And I thank Councilman Borelli for your remarks on my strength, but really what it comes to is the love that I have and will forever have for Michael. That's what allowed us to do this. And so I thank you for not allowing his loss to be in vain, and for making sure that moving forward, the phone call that we received will never happen again because of this situation. It was really unfathomable to think that there was such a lack of regulation, of checks and balances, if you will, when it comes to this industry. And just to echo the sentiments of Bobby Eustace, who I also thank very much for his support from last week, he said, you know, this is not us against Hollywood. This is not against filming in New York City. Filming in the arts is a part of the fabric of our city. That's not what this bill was aimed against. So I just wanted to make that clear too. And if you knew Michael, you know how much he loved his film. He was always quick with the movie one-liners that I could never get. He loved film, and we were never against that in our city. How could you be as a New Yorker? So we thank Hollywood for seeing the importance of this and honoring it, and in turn honoring our Michael. This is a good day for us, and probably coming up on 3 years, the first day that I truly feel a happiness in my heart, because this is the legacy that my husband deserves. And it's been an honor to be a part of the process to ensure that he does receive this legacy and this honor. So I thank you again, Councilman Borelli, Councilman Cornegy, Bobby, Andy, and even going back to Gerard Fitzgerald, who first helped us champion this idea and support us while he was still in office. And of course, my brother-in-law, Eric, who has literally stood with me and been a rock from day one as we navigated something truly impossible and continue to. I just want to thank him so much. This is something that I fought for, not just for Michael, but for Bobby and Paula and my children. And I'm so glad that they're on with us today. And I guess I will turn it over to them. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Eric, would you mind unmuting? Thank you. And if you want your parents to say some things.
Turn on the video, Eric. Thank you. Good.
Good?
Yep.
Good. Hear me? All right. Well, again, like I said, we want to thank Councilman Cornegy, Speaker Johnson, and Councilman Borelli. We worked with them from day one. We met with Borelli multiple times, and he's been the driving force behind this. So, yeah, we just want to thank you. The whole UFA board has been behind us, especially Bobby Usage from day one. So, yeah, we just want to thank them. This bill was about the safety of the firefighters, safety of the citizens of the city, and the safety of the film workers on set. And we're happy that this is going to go through. You know, it's been a tough couple of years, and we just wanted to make sure that no one else has to go through what we've gone through the last few years, and no one else gets that phone call in the middle of the night that their loved one, firefighter, has perished in the line of duty. You know, they say there's two guarantees in life, death and taxes, but I got a third one. It's when you call 911, you need the fire department, we will show up. And this bill is about just giving us a fighting chance when we do show up. So again, I just want to thank everyone who was involved. I know I'm probably missing some people in the background. And Eileen, I just want to say it's been great, and we finally did it. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. And again, thank you to Councilmember Cornegy for being a co-sponsor and a partner and a sponsor of the one of the bills. And Andy and Bobby, thank you very much for your efforts in all of this. In fact, I even remember the funeral was probably one of the first times I met Bobby, and I remember him standing on the top row of the church in front of the building, and it was a really tough day, and it was a very special day. And I can only imagine how tough it was for you, Eileen, and you, Bobby, and you, Paula. So just a protocol, my committee passed it this morning unanimously, and we fully expect the city council to pass both bills unanimously at the stated meeting today. And the FDNY and the Mayor's Office of TV and Film have been partners on this throughout, so I, obviously expect the mayor will sign it. And if Brian, if you could open it up for questions, and maybe if anyone wants to use the raise hand function, we could get through that.
Yes, absolutely. We'll take any questions now for Councilman Borelli, Councilman Cornegie, representatives of the UFA and the family. Raul, who's on the other side of this Zoom, will see the raised hand functions and will recognize the media to give any follow-up questions. And if you could do the courtesy when you ask the questions to please state your name and your media organization so that we're aware of who we're responding to. Thank you.
All right, we'll do it going
All
once,
right.
going twice. All right,
All
guys.
right, just
Thank
closing
you.
remarks.
Again, thank you very much. We'll be able to answer more questions as well at the pre-stated press conference if there are any. And you have everyone's contact on the press release if need be. So thank you guys for joining. This is a really important day for the members of the FDNY. This is a extremely important day for Eileen and the members of the Davidson family. And this is an important day for firefighter Davidson's 4 children, because this will hopefully be something that keeps his legacy alive within the city of New York. So thank you all, and God bless.
Thank you.